Anthony Hernandez is out of his fight against Reinier de Ridder in Vancouver, British Columbia in October. Yeah, mid October, late October. This sucks. I was really looking forward to Reinier de Ridder versus Anthony Hernandez. Both of these guys are two of my favorite fighters on the roster. This is an interesting fight. Brandon Allen, um, I guess we'll go back to him and we'll start with Reinier de Ridder since we've known that he's been fighting on this card and he still is. He beat Robert Whitaker in a close fight by split decision. Um, I thought he looked good in that fight. A lot of people were saying Robert Whitaker won it. It was very close, but I still gave it to uh, Reinier de Ridder just because I thought he had more output. Um, he ate Whitaker's biggest shots, but before that, he had the breakout win against Bo Nickal with the knee to the body, and Bo Nickal is facing Rodolfo Vieria, and I'm going to talk a bit about that at the end of this video. But ever since losing to Anatoly Malkin twice over in one, it's been a rocky start to Reinier de Ridder's UFC career. Now, you'll look at all of these finishes and you'll think, well, how's he's finishing all these guys? Well, Jeff Mercer kind of pieced him up on the feet early in that fight. It was looking very bad up until he got that triangle choke in that third round. I kind of think he would have lost that decision if it went to decision. Um, but then comes back, submits Kevin Owens in the first round. You guys know what I think about Kevin Owens. I think he's one of the better fighters. I think he could focus more on his career. He absolutely could become a champion, quite like Kelvin Gastelum and fighters of that kind. But he submits him in the first round. Now, the come up of Reinier de Ridder was it was very incredible. When I go back and I watch his first couple wins and that, and again, he comes from the Dutch kickboxing background, but he was pulling off a ton of submissions that way, and he has a solid jiu-jitsu game, and he showed it against Bo Nickal, where Bo Nickal is an American wrestler. He's not used to the clinch in MMA. He's not used to all of these other positions you can find yourself inside the cage, and I think he's going to struggle with that. But now he's going in there against Brendan Allen. When you look at Brendan Allen, he's sort of been just outside of being a top middleweight. He beat Marvin Vettori in his last fight. I was rooting for Vettori very heavily in that fight. Again, it was his first fight since losing his brother in that horrific tragedy. Um, when he won that fight, he looked really impressive. He lost the grappling match to Caio Borralho, but he got outgrappled by Anthony Hernandez. Again, I love that fight. That was mainly a grappling match. Incredible though. We had a lot of really good transitions, really good reversals. But Anthony Hernandez, his grappling is scary, man. He is a very, very effective grappler. And then he lost to Nazarene Imarov, who went on to knock out Israel Adesanya, and is looking like the next title contender after beating. Um, I'm already blanking on the name there. Kale Brawl. Yeah. I was just saying his name. But this is tricky. Submits Paul Craig, submits Bruno Silva, submitted Andre Muniz, Jotko. He does have a lot of good wins inside the UFC. Lost to Sean Strickland in 2020. Um, won the championship over LFA. Submitted Kevin Owens. I think that there definitely is now here. If Reinier de Ridder wins this fight, I think his next fight should be for the title. I hope that we don't have to wait for Hamza to fight once a year to defend the belt. Um, Hopefully we see him in December. We're for sure gonna see him on the White House card. Trump says Hamza is one of his favorite fighters, but it's tough because I thought that Reinier de Ridder and Anthony Hernandez had an opportunity to compete for that title shot, but how can you really justify giving Reinier de Ridder a title shot off of a Brendan Allen win and that course of a fight with Robert Whittaker? You know what I mean? It's tricky. But at the same time, I do think that Reinier de Ridder should fight for the belt soon. I think it's a matter of one. Well, he has a win against Robert Whittaker, but like one win against a current top middleweight, which I believe is a guy like Anthony Hernandez. Um, but we will see. 35 years old. I would say in his prime, really. When you look at middleweight, 34, 35, 36, you do get a little more breathing room with further time in this division. Look at Jared Cannonier, who still looks amazing, right? Um, but definitely a letdown that we're missing out on that fight, and we'll see, man. It ultimately depends too. When do we see Hamza fight? Are we really gonna see him get a fight in before the year ends? Because he went from, having two fights in 10 days, or however short it was, to now it's a lot of fans are skeptic about his title reign because we have had an issue of inactive fighters, uh, inactive champions for a few years now. But um, I like the fight. I like the fight. Maybe I'll talk about it more. Well, we'll actually talk about it more closer to the fight. This is the other one that got made, and once again, Bo Nickal gets on another pay per view. Let me just make sure I'm not making things up here. So, pay per view, pay per view. That was a fight night. Never mind. One, two. It was on UFC 300, 90, 285. He has had one, two, three, four pay per view showings since coming into the UFC. Yes, he did have a main event fight night against Reinier de Ridder in his last fight. But this is the issue that I have with these guys that the UFC bring in that they want to push heavily in the rankings is that you're not going to please everyone with the fights you make, And we do want to be surprised as fight fans. We don't just want to always stuff all the fights we want to see and get every single one of them. A surprise here and there is nice. But again, Bo Nickal, how old is he? 29 years old. You got time with him. Rodolfo Vieira, on the other hand, you know, probably will have a few more fights in the UFC, I assume. Like, he's beating notable guys, submitted Dustin Schultz first, right? But, this could definitely be a telling sign to me where Bo Nickal is. How Bo Nickal can face adversity is something that we really haven't talked about at all. Um, but I don't know, man. I know DC got pissy at when Chael brought this up, that MMA guru, and not just MMA guru. This is a sentiment that's going around. American wrestling just doesn't cut it into today's MMA. You look at, your jiu-jitsu um, practitioners. You look at your songbow fighters. You look at, you know, the Georgian fighters now. Even some of the English fighters, the grappling that they have. You compare it to the American fighters now. And when I see most American grapplers, the reliance on a guillotine, man, lately, it's just unbelievable. It's like every time a fighter doesn't know what they're doing, jump the guillotine. And I know it's not just American fighters, but it's a lot of them, right? I'm not taking away from what he accomplished in his wrestling career. But this is not wrestling. This is not, you know, the 2000s, the 2010s. It's the 2020s where everybody in the UFC now has been training jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and probably another martial arts since they've been 5 years old. And Bo Nickal needs to prove to me that he is worth the hype. He has a right hand. What do you have beyond the right hand? Can you throw in a good left straight? Can you work a good jab? Can you learn some, traditional boxing combinations? I think traditional boxing combinations would turn Bo Nickal into a completely different fighter. I'm not saying he needs to turn into fucking the second coming of Ilya Topuria, but you're seeing low level fighters make these rates. And when you watch the true elite fighters, the guys in the top five, they're up there because they make these reads quickly. They know what they're looking for in film. They know how to utilize the weakness exactly how Reinier de Ridder did it. I don't know, man. I don't like the Dagestani takeover, but it's so apparent that American wrestling just doesn't cut it anymore. You look at other fights on the card, Roman Cowboy versus Gregory Rodriguez. I don't see him ever beating Roman Koplev. I think that Gregory Rodriguez, it'd be an entertaining fight, Maybe he gets Rodriguez down, but I think Rodriguez can catch him. It's He's really gonna have to show something. They keep giving him these major opportunities, and apart from one overhand and wasn't it a rear naked choke, he really hasn't shown much. Yeah, you have other, submission win, submission wins here. What have any of these four guys down here gone on to do? Jamie Pickett, he's the only one that I kinda, you know, remember. 37. Is he still even in the UFC? No, he got cut. Yeah, he got cut after the loss to Eric Anders. I want Bo Nickal to have a good career. I really do. But I still cannot avoid the fact that he needs serious work on the feet. He is so far behind the top 10 guys in striking. It's not even funny. Like, I think that Israel Adesanya, even at his stage, would be able to handle Bo Nickal with ease. I truly believe that. And again, Izzy is a former champion. You do have to put respect on his name. But again, it's the hype around prospects nowadays compared to, when those older guys came in from the Ultimate Fighter, whether they won the thing or not, you knew out the gate that they could compete, that they belong in the UFC. But now, I feel like it's three, four, five fights, Reinier de Ridder, right? Until we actually can see, oh, this person belongs here. But we will see, man. Um, that's what I have on these. I guess these two fights. I wanted to make a video on Anthony Hernandez pulling out of that fight. Again, it sucks. It was one of my most anticipated fights to end the year. If I'm really being honest, it was up there with like JDM and Israel Makachev. Let me know, what do you think about these matchups? What would you do with Anthony Hernandez next? Thanks for watching. Later.